Next, we have Justin Early. Justin Early is also a veteran, a lifelong community organizer, and a devout father of 7 children. It's very impressive. Justin served as a paratrooper and then served in the Pentagon. Justin understands what service means. He understands the freedom of religion and the First Amendment rights that apply to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Early.
Hello everybody, my name is Justin Early. First I'd like to say thank you Greg, thank you Mohammed, and thank you NAMCC for hosting us here today. My name is Justin Early, as I stated. I am a father, I'm a veteran, I'm a husband, and I'm also the Democratic nominee for Congressional District 31. And why I'm running is because families just like mine, just like yours, are suffering every day. They're working harder for less and less and less. And what we have today in representation in District 31 is a lack of representation. What I'm going to do when I'm elected is I want to be your representative. I want to speak to you, I want to know who you are, I want to be not only an ally, but I want to be a part of your community. We have today a lot of things happening in the world, and we can't solve every single problem, but what we need to do is make sure we are electing people who are going to have the same heart as you, the same drive as you, and have suffered just as you have suffered. Because until we understand each other's suffering, we cannot change this world. District 31 is a very unique place, and people have asked me, what is it going to take to win this district? And I've told them it takes 3 things. It takes the map, it takes the math, and it takes the mobilization. The map is something interesting because the Republicans gave us this map last year in September, July, September, and November, and when they tried to redistrict this back, right? The mid-decade redistricting was new and different, but what it did was allow Killeen to be back in this district. It's a lot of black and brown communities who were previously not represented. That's a lot of people who, just like you and me, who are struggling every day. And now we have this collection of people in this one contiguous area that we can win this seat back. John Carter is scared of that. The second thing is the math. And the math is very important because what we had seen in March in the primaries for the Republican and Democratic parties, we have seen, first and foremost, we had the second most ever votes for Democrats in the primary in this district. And the number 1 receiver of those votes of all time in this district was myself. That means something. That means the math is out there. The people are listening, they want to know, and they want to vote. So we have to give them something to believe in. But once they've believed in something, what do we do next? And that's the last thing. That's the mobilization. That's what this room is. That's what this conversation is. That's who we are. We get people out there. I ran this platform on 3 different things: security, dignity, and opportunity. And security is where we will focus on a lot today, because it's not just border security, it's security in your home, it's security of healthcare. But we're doing all these things with dignity to provide opportunity for everybody here. So let's build better together. Thank you.
I think seeing as to how we're inside of a bus, it would be fitting to start our first question with the rise of Islamophobia. And my question for you would be, as you've seen in recent months and years, Islamophobia is on the rise in Texas. If elected to Congress, what specific steps would you enact to ensure that all people of all faiths, including Muslims, have a right to practice free of discrimination and uphold their civil liberties? Justin, starting with you.
Thank you. What a phenomenal and fitting question. The rise of Islamophobia here is threatening not only to these people, you people in the room here, but to me as well. When I talk about struggle, I see the very same similarities that they're doing to your communities that they've picked up other people of color in the United States. So that's something we need to actually call out and do. The specifics of what I would do is, first and foremost, there's the No Ban Act that's actually in Congress right now. I would support that. Ilhan Omar, Cory Booker, they are behind legislation that is actually making it illegal further to further these Islamic or anti-Islamic practices. The second thing I would do is I would bring not only an ally to you, but I want to involve you into my staff. I want to know what your concerns are, because while I can sit here like some other politicians every 2 years and say, I want your vote and I'll be here with you. I don't think that's the right way to get things done. It takes a multicultural coalition to get these things done. And on my staff here in DC, I will invite you guys there with me. And the third and final thing I will do is, without being on specific committees, without being on certain things, that's the real work to be done. I'll also use my platform in order to speak out against Islamophobia. Because that's what some things people are not doing today. They're afraid to speak about it. I'm not a career politician, so I'm not threatened by somebody coming after me, because my job is to represent you, not to represent donors. Thank you. Yes, exactly. The authorized use of military force that was started in 2001 and 2002, they've been bastardized so much that they don't even recognize originally what it was about and what it was supposed to be. To that same end, we are actually having these perpetual wars that are going on forever and ever and ever to then line the pockets of billionaires and all these people. 100% agree. I believe that surveillance capitalism is one of the worst things. Sidebar, somebody asked me what would I work for to fight for free, and I'd fight surveillance capitalism. Because I believe that's really at the crux of all this that's happening to us in our country. We are going across the world into different areas in order to enrich those who are back here at home. But it doesn't actually happen for you or me. We're spending money to harm people who look like us, you, me, whomever, in order to bring money back for those who already have enough. We don't take social programs seriously here in this country, and that goes directly to the VA. As a veteran, my parents are both veterans, my sister's a veteran, my son is in the military, my daughter is already served in the military. We come from a deep, rich military family, so we understand what happens at the other end of this equation. A lot of times when we talk about these things, they're always one-sided, but the other side of the equation needs to be also balanced as well. And when we talk about when we're going to war, we're doing anything that's on this side of the world, we have to genuinely understand what is happening. We're putting people's lives at risk on both sides, and we have to bring those people back and take care of them over here. One of the things I say in and around Colleen is, if you truly support the troops, if you truly support veterans, you support the community around the veterans. And the problem with that is we're not supporting communities because we're going across the world to enrich other people and kill those others. I don't support that, so as a member of Congress, I would actually fight the AUMF directly, and then also any wars that are getting started have to have deep and understanding of why we're going to war as well. Because simply because somebody looks different than me or prays different than me does not give us authorization to go across the world and kill them.
Thank you. I want to shift gears and talk about something that I think hits home for a lot of Muslim Americans that are in this room. When I was telling people about this event, one of the questions that I got most frequently was, well, all parties let us down. There's no real party that supports us. And I want to talk to you about community trust and political accountability. Muslim Americans voters have expressed deep frustration that both major political parties have failed to represent their interests, particularly in the context of Gaza. How do you respond to the feeling of political abandonment? What specifically would you do differently to earn and keep the trust of the Muslim American community, especially in Congressional District 31?
So first and foremost, having a political home is more than what the party platform is. There was a decision I had to make at some point when I was going to run for this seat. First and foremost, I'm running because I feel a calling to do this. I want to represent people in and around my home, my family, my community. And so this is something I've made a decision to do every single day. And it is a conscious choice that I will fight every day for. However, deciding to be a Democrat was not exactly an easy decision because being a Republican was an extremely easy decision. That is definitely not going to happen. However, being a Democrat frustrates me just as much because they speak a lot of words, but they don't do the actions. And that's the problem. We have Muslim members of Congress today. We have people who would believe the same way as we would believe to fight against these things. So we need to build coalitions around them. We need to get them together and actually fight together with this. I love the idea of being, politically homeless and then making a stand for yourself. But the United States of America doesn't have that type of political system. We have a two-party system, and while there is a few fringe people, it's difficult to build that coalition without that. So I'm here to make sure we build that coalition. I am not trying to be under the Chuck Schumers of the world or those people, because I believe they're doing it wrong. If we give power back to people who've had power for the last 30 years, we're going to end up the exact same way. And so I'm here to be part of the new generation of leadership of the Democratic Party, and I want to represent you with doing that. Thank you.
talk about the economy and cost of living. Beyond being a religious institution, NAMCC hosts weekly charitable drives where they give food, pantry items, clothes, and even rental assistance. Based on what I was told, the amount of people showing up to these drives has drastically increased in the last year and a half. So cost of living in Congressional District 31 is a problem. As I said, families across Congressional District 31 are struggling with the rising cost of housing, groceries, and healthcare. What concrete legislative actions would you prioritize to address economic concerns that are faced by members of Congressional District 31, including many Muslims as well? Justin, starting with you.
Yes, affordability is the number one thing on my platform when I talk about. So when I talk about I build the campaign around security, opportunity, or dignity and opportunity, the three policy platforms I have are one, affordability. That's healthcare, that's housing, that's food. Here in Texas 31, you've lost 25% of your spending power in the last 10 years. That kind of money doesn't go anywhere. It goes to the people at the top, the billionaires, the leading class, the work, whatever you want to call them. They're not the working class. If you own a small business here, costs went up for you. If you eat food, costs went up for you. And so concrete legislation looks like we need to actually enact the laws that we currently do have. We need to expand programs that actually bring food back to people, bring money back to NAMCC in order to provide those food for those people. Also, we need to expand what we have for healthcare and Medicare and Medicaid. Because if we have healthcare costs taken care of, that's one less thing that we need to worry about getting food on the table. I'm also a big proponent of labor, so making sure we have strong labor laws in order to make sure people can fight for their wages of what needs to happen here. And the final thing that I want to make sure we're doing is we have a strong democracy. Because I can't fight for affordability, I can't fight for the things I want to do without a strong democracy. And so those are the things I would fight for you for. Thank you.
Next, we're going to shift to our audience Q&A. If you scan the QR code there, you'll be able to ask a question. But while people ask their questions, I want to ask an additional question. I want to talk about AI. And AI is at the forefront of a lot of concerns for a lot of people right now. Whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in computer engineering, whatever your field is, there's a real impact associated with AI. Will people lose jobs? Is there an AI bubble? Do we need supplemental income if AI takes off? Will either of you support AI regulation? If so, what capacity of regulation would you support?
Yeah, so my three policy platforms are affordability, and the second was responsible technology and AI regulation. And so I absolutely believe in AI regulation because it hurts the American worker. But not only does it hurt the American worker, the government should be very concerned about this because where does the tax revenue come from? It comes from the American worker. And so if the government really had a concern about this, they would be looking at this as well. So it is one of the number one things that I want to focus on when I get to Congress. But as far as the universal basic income, the things that we need to have, there absolutely needs to be something that's given to people because while we are losing jobs to AI, I don't truly believe those jobs are all from AI. We're shielding bad business policies. We're shielding bad CEOs. They're the ones who are firing people for whatever reason they tell us. And if they say it's AI, that could help the bubble grow, but it also gives them a scapegoat to say, here's the problem that's going on. So we need to have real investigations of what's happening inside of these companies, what's happening with these AI, the models that are being built. But secondly, or most importantly to me, is what end are they doing this? You know, I have said before that we have built tools from the dawn of time. Hammers to excavators to build things. But never before have we built a tool that takes our imagination. And that's what AI is trying to do. And they talk about solving the $1 trillion problem, and Greg is absolutely right. The $1 trillion problem they're trying to solve is labor. They don't want to have to pay us. And whatever they give us in the end is what we're supposed to accept. And so while that be a whole change of how we deal in the world, I would not agree with that. We need to fight those things. And the final point to this is the environment. Because while we're utilizing these systems to build out AI, build these models and build out data centers, we're taking water for human beings, we're taking air from human beings, and we're raising the temperature of the environment. And that's why this tool needs regulation.
So another question we have is AIPAC money. AIPAC, the pro-Israeli American relationship lobby. Are you guys taking any contributions from AIPAC, or do you plan on taking any contributions from AIPAC anytime in the future or anytime in your political career?
Yeah, I as well am not taking any AIPAC money. I saw what they did to Cori Bush. Cori Bush. I saw what they did to other people whenever you go against, speak against those in power. We're sending money over to Israel for them to have, universal health care, for them to have free education, and we're not getting anything back over here, right? You guys as a community are sending $1.2 billion across the ocean in order to stop or help humanitarian causes, yet we can't even fund things over here. So I'm not going to take money from people who want to continue the bombing campaigns that are happening over there. Secondly, on the point of PACs, I do take PAC money because I do things for labor unions and those things, and that's one way to get money in. But I do not want to take dark money, or if dark money comes, it's not my money. It's going to do whatever for the best for the community. That's not something I'm going to work with or work for, because I want to answer to you. I don't want to be beholden to somebody in the back behind the screens in order to use me like a puppet or a marionette. I'm here to work for you, not to work for them.
A lot of the questions that are coming in have to do with Islamophobia. People are asking, how do we get your assurance that you will absolutely, truly support us, have our back, and campaign against Islamophobia? Not just release statements denouncing Islamophobia when it appears, but take legislative action. Many people, many politicians, once elected, change their tune. What would you do?
I would say first and foremost, I've already stated this before, is I want you on my team. I want you to work with me because I cannot be everywhere at once. I can't know everything. And so in order to hold me accountable, I need you as close to me as I can possibly be. The second thing is utilize the platform of a congressman to state exactly what Greg says. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Not only are we supposed to be writing legislation and voting on legislation that go yes or no to help your community, but also need to speak up and speak out about things. Those are things that are happening today. There are times where your community is under attack and we hear nothing from those in power. We hear nothing. And I think that's the wrong answer. And the final thing, the third thing I think I would love to do, is I want to learn more about your community. I'm a very big reader. I love reading. I love understanding. And so this is something that helps me share and understand your perspective. While I can see things as a similarity to things I've grown up with and how things are gone, I can't see it through your eyes. And so if I get more knowledge, more information, 4 months ago I finished at one day everybody will always have been against this, and that opened my eyes not only to what's happening over in Palestine, but also AOC and how she's actually operating. And while I thought of her as a great progressive person, I was astounded that she says nothing about the genocide that's happening over in Gaza. And so I want to learn and do more, because not only can I be an ally, not only can I use my platform, but I want to continue to learn and understand and know from you.
We have another question regarding homeless and mentally unstable folks who are migrating from the core of Austin into Williamson County, the parts of Williamson County. What resources do these people need? How would you deal with these people coming in from Austin to Williamson County? Justice, starting to do.
So one thing, I don't know if you guys know this about Congress and about the legislature, is we got rid of pork belly, we got rid of adding things in the bills, right? And that would be how we can have more community dollars back into the area. And so instead of doing pork belly that they got rid of, what we do now is called community block grants, right? Or community block grants, that's what they're called. And so Congressman, me, can come in and say, here's what's needed in this area. Here's $1.2 million for X. Here's $1.4 million for Y. And so what we need to do is actually build anchors for people in order to go to and have, but that's where we can put money into the community. And knowing what the community needs is how we can actually expand on that and do those things. As far as mental health goes and what happens with that, we need serious mental health care in this country. Not all injuries are visible, and as a veteran and as a soldier, I understand what it is. My brother-in-law himself suffers through PTSD. He self-medicated himself on things, and he has really struggled with stuff. And so for me, how do we actually help him, people that we know? And that's by building communities around them. We have lots of great medication, lots of great community actions on things for like elderly, those who cannot do for themselves, that we can do the same thing for mental health care. And I believe putting money and dollars from Congress into that is where we need to go.
A couple more questions here. So, you both say that you learn about different cultures and different religions. What life experiences have you had with Muslims, whether here or abroad during your service, that you can speak to in dealing with the Muslim culture and people, Muslims all over the world, rather?
My experience is not as expensive as Greg's, so that's envious. That's awesome. I've served in the military with Muslim soldiers. I've worked side by side with people, and I've understood what happens during Ramadan and that kind of stuff. So I know a lot of the basics that is there. But I'm continually a student of people and understanding cultures because I lost my mic. All right. Sorry for the interruption. Really what I want to say is that I'm a student of cultures and people. What I've learned while I travel different places, whether it be in Europe, whether it be in Asia, whether it be in South America, is that people are fundamentally the same. You go to bed, you wake up, you want to provide for your family, you want to know if you're secure in where you're living, what you're doing, and specifically around Muslims themselves, I see no difference in there. One of the things that I told somebody on my team today is I asked them, have you guys seen Malcolm X? And they said, yeah, I saw Malcolm X. I said, one of the most profound scenes that I came out away with was when he went to Mecca and he saw people of every color, every stripe, and every single economic status. And I said, we can learn a lot from that specific point right there. And I think what we can also do as people, as students of cultures, is share that information out. So that's what I want to keep doing because I didn't live in Mumbai. But that's amazing. But I want to keep learning and studying from people. So thank you.
We have another question on Islamophobia. It's a hot topic. What do you think is the motivation behind the rise of Islamophobia? We see it, admittedly, on one side of the aisle. Why is this now so popular? Why is this the new shiny toy on the block? Starting with you, Justin.
Yeah, this is neo-Nazism. There's no other term to put it. We went from saying, I'm not going to say the word out loud, people what they called me, to now we're saying Muslim, Islam. It's just traded hands from one hate to another. And as they continue to dominate the class, it's an interesting perspective where they built this us versus them kind of mentality. And it's so prevalent that they're us versus them. They are the them, and we are the us. But their hate is so prevalent that they want to make us hate us. And I think that's the huge problem, whereas we've grown from against Jews or against blacks or against the women. It's who do we click the political football to next? Every single political party has said they're going to do right for those people. But do they actually do those things? They do not. And the reason is because they don't call it out for what it is. And so if we actually identify neo-Nazism and Nazism that happened these days, then we can actually say that is the common enemy, and that is what we need to go fight against. That is the domestic terrorism in this country. And so that's what I believe.
Thank you for that. So we have time for two more questions. The first of which being, you discussed understanding the reasons behind U.S. wars, whether it's in Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. Turns out our checks and balances was on the Iron Code system for the past 200 years. So how do we re-implement checks and balances when those checks and balances are being ignored left and right?
Thank you. And that's where my mind was first at. I just want to make sure I captured it. Well, because I've said this a lot, the problems with democracy can be fixed with more democracy. There's a lot of things that we're doing today that are non-democratic in the United States of America, and so we need to stop fooling ourselves that we are a truly democratic country. We need to talk about things that actually make ourselves undemocratic, and then break those systems down to add more democracy into it. The checks and balances specifically, we see today the executive branch has gone well above and beyond what they're allowed to do. But there's nothing to do once they're given the power to go and do those things. Congress has the power of the purse. Congress enacts, says if a war happens or not. But then the executive is supposed to go out and do those things. And today, those things are being done without Congress approval. So the first thing we do need to do, I think we do need to vote. One thing I talk about as well is that we are not in a democracy. We're in a competitive authoritarianism government. That is what this means. We have semblances of democracy, but not true democracy. And while they still allow us to go and vote, we need to go and vote these people out of there. 100% agree with Greg on that. We need to vote these people out. Because once the people out who are actually sustaining this status quo that we have today, then we can start talking about how we build democracy even stronger than where it was before. And the final point to this is we actually need to use our platforms and talk about what's happening. People who do things in the dark don't like the light. And if we use our platforms to talk about what the undemocratic things are happening today, then we can actually fix these systems. Because nobody wants to be heard as the person who is going behind doors and making deals that hurts their constituents, but then in the end, they're making money on the other side. So we need more accountability, more transparency, but also we need to vote out the people who are getting the status quo the way it is today.
Thank you. And for our final question, Congressional District 31 has seen quite a few layoffs in multiple different sectors. Although this is not just a Congressional District 31 problem, and rather a Texas problem, what specific actions can you take to address the increase of layoffs and the numerous people who are now unemployed and unable to provide for themselves and their families?
Yeah, absolutely. This is not only a Texas problem, it's a whole United States problem, right? We are giving too much power to these companies, and Greg is absolutely right. We're one of the only developed countries in the world that allows layoffs while it's in profitability. I worked for a company before, a lot of you may own small businesses as well, and you understand what it means to be EBITDA positive by the end of the year. And I worked for this company that every single November and December, they fired 5 to 10 people in order to be EBITDA positive. That means their books look great, everything was good, and they can go back and say they did a good job. And the very next January, what did they do? They hired back 5 to 10 more people, right? This only numbers game, this shell game that they're doing should be illegal. Because when I go to work, I expect to have a paycheck when I get done with it. When I give something to a company, I expect to get something back. The second point on this is that when we give money into the collective, our tax dollars in the collective, any company that pulls that back, I want 2 things to happen. 1, every dollar goes to somebody's pocket. I want that labor money, I want that small business, to be able to say, this is how many people they hired from the money that they got from the collective budget. And the second thing I want them to be able to do is have more accountability if they take money from the collective budget. If you're doing something such as the Spirit Airlines bailout, right? I believe the country should have some say in how Spirit Airlines actually handles their business. There's no reason that you should lay off people after you receive public money and then give the CEO $300 million, $500 million, or $4 million. I don't care what it is. If you're doing that much work more than a worker, then you have to show and prove that. But really what happens is the shell game that they have about moving money around so investors and shareholders can feel their profits. And what happens today is our current members of Congress, our current legislators, even the governor, all these people own stocks, they do insider trading, and they're able to make money on your suffering. And so what I would do as a member of Congress, what I will do, is I will fight against that. I will absolutely stand up for no insider trading inside of Congress. I will absolutely stand up for stronger labor laws, because I strongly believe that if I gave 20 years to a company, I should own a piece of that company. I believe that if I worked for that time, I should be supplemented for my income for the rest of my life as well. Not just the CEO, not just the CFO, but the worker who spent every day in there working for them. And so I want to make sure those workers are then taken care of. And the final point I want to give on this is I got a lot of flack in the very beginning of my campaign for standing up for unions and saying I'm a pro-union candidate. But I believe that unions are strong for a reason. Because we, the collective, that is the only legal recourse we have against these giant corporations. We have weekends because of unions. We have child labor laws because of unions. And so if that is the avenue that we have to strengthen our labor and get money back in our pockets, I'm absolutely about that. So thank you.
Thank you. I think that will conclude our candidate forum. Once again, we want to thank Justin Early and Greg Stokes for being here. Please round of applause. I also want to once again thank our volunteers. If you volunteered for this event, please raise your hand and stand up. I'd like for you to have another round of applause as well. So now they're going to stick around, right? Yeah. Good. They're going to stick around for a little bit. You'll have a chance to meet them, interact with them, take photos if you'd like. We'll have food, I think, now or pretty soon. So please stay around, have some food, interact with the candidates, and it's great that everybody was here. We want to do more events like this within our community. So thanks again very much for being here.